Here. I'm keeping it going.
Oh,
There.
okay.
Now I'm not going to cut you off. Okay,
We're
ready?
grooving on Monday morning.
Here we go. There.
There we go.
There. Got a little bit more. Hi, good
Okay.
morning, Heather. I was going to surprise you, and I just can't. I couldn't finish it.
Oh, well, maybe next week.
Maybe next week.
There you go.
So, okay, mugs up, everyone. You got a mug?
Uh-huh. Oh,
Mine's
look at
Northern
you with
Ireland.
your Northern Ireland. You're still celebrating St. Patrick's Day.
St. Patrick's Day. Hey, Michael. Hey, Bobby. Oh, the Joneses are in the house. They're not related. I don't believe.
So we had St. Patrick's Day and you didn't dance for us.
I'm sorry. I didn't dance for anybody. I actually got offered a gig too.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, it's coffee time, Bobby.
I would have come and seen you do a jig.
The guy says, "Hey, I'll pay you in drinks and food."
There
And
you
I'm
go.
like, I mean, that's how they used to do it. I was like, wow, I really feel like I'm from Ireland again. Like, you're gonna pay me in drinks and food.
You know, being a Scot, I'm a Scotch Irish background, and my first trip to Ireland came in '86. And I'll never forget the experience because, you know, my Irish relatives love to drink. You know, it's kind of an Irish thing. You know, they love their Guinness and their beer, right?
Yes, they do.
I just didn't know how much they liked it. And so we flew in and you fly in on one side of the country into Galway, I think it was, the airport over there, right? And we had to disembark so we could get our internal flight. Well, I'm walking into the airport and the pubs at 7 a.m. are just packed with Irishmen drinking beer at 7 a.m. in the morning.
Yes, they are.
I'm like, huh? Whoa.
Yep.
But yes, the Emerald Isle is definitely a place to see.
Yeah.
Better in the summertime than in the winter, though.
I went in May of 20. So I went in 2017. Oh my gosh. That's where I got the mug, obviously.
There you go.
So I got the mug in Derry. Okay. Now, the Northern Ireland, depending on which side you're on, they call it Londonderry. And then the people in Derry call it Derry.
Right.
So I got this in the mall at the Starbucks that was in the mall. Their whole place was not open. Like we drove in there. I needed gas and I couldn't find a gas station open. It was crazy. But you know what? I love their gas stations over there. Their gas stations over there have fresh.
Not gas, dear. It's petrol.
Petro. So their petro stations, you know, had like fresh, like really fresh food, like like market type of stuff. It wasn't. It wasn't like our convenience, you know, Quick Trip over here with the everything packaged. I mean, they had that stuff too, but mainly they had like fresh things and they, you know, bakery stuff. It was awesome. I was like, I would have loved
fresh out of the oven with their flaky little.
Yes, it was awesome. But Derry has a section that's kind of propaganda. Did you go to Derry?
I actually traveled the whole of the country.
Did you see the propaganda section with the murals and everything? So I know some of my Irish friends would be like, "Why she got a Northern Ireland cup?" But you know, they're
you orange Protestant, you.
Well, no. See, that's the thing is I wasn't allowed to tell them that I did Irish dancing.
Oh yeah,
because Irish dancing meant you were another religion. It's crazy. It's like
it's an intense place. You know, when I went in the 80s, it was still very tense. There was still bombings going on.
Yeah.
The police stations were fortified. And I do remember an experience where, you know, I had a long, you know, telephoto lens and I was in a car and I was, you know, we were driving, taking pictures and, you know, everybody was so on edge that when I flipped around to take a picture of the police station. I looked, and there was suddenly all these rifles pointed at me.
Oh my
gosh.
Oh
yeah. They were just on edge, and my Irish friends are going, yeah, probably not good to use a telephoto lens out of a car.
No, not at all. So how's everybody's
one
Monday?
Of my dear friends from that trip just said hello the other day on St. Patrick's Day from Ireland. So that was really nice.
Nice. I loved it. We went into Belfast, and then we traveled, into the Republic of Ireland.
Yeah.
To Dublin. We went to Dublin. Then we were going to go to Cork, but we were so tired of all the cities by the time, like, we had flown into Scotland. So we went to Edinburgh, and, and we had driven Scotland already. We did that whole thing. And then we wanted like a small town. So we went to Kilkenny.
Oh yeah.
Kilkenny was awesome. I loved Kilkenny. It had just this really cool feeling. And what was really neat is the camogie, which is the women's side of hurling. When we went into this pub, they had our stuff. So that's what I loved. I think we talked about it last week, didn't we? I think I did.
Well, my mother was a fan of Irish Crystal.
Oh yes,
so I had to go take the tour of the factory. I think it was in Wexford,
Waterford.
It was.
Well, yeah,
there's Waterford Crystal. That's what it was. Yes,
Waterford.
And had to bring her back a piece, But
of
man,
course.
that was fascinating watching the craftsmen carve that. Yeah.
Yes.
But I'm a historian, so I was fascinated by both the original Ire, the land of Ire, the old Celts and going back to some of the old original pagan sites, and then of course the influence of St. Patrick with Christianity, and seeing the the various stone churches and graveyards.
Yes,
that was really fascinating for me.
Me too.
But you gotta tip your hat to the Irish, because they know how to have fun. I mean, they know how to party. I mean, they're just
is that what it is?
Funny with them, because they love to fight and they love to party. You know what I mean? Sometimes
it's somewhere in the middle
in the same event.
That's right. That's right. Exactly. So you would love Iona then. You would love off of Scotland.
There's I don't know if you're talking about the island, but I actually am very good friends with the band.
Yeah. Oh, I know. Oh, really?
Yeah.
You know Iona?
Yeah, we toured with them.
I love Iona.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Their music is just amazing.
Yeah, it is.
The lead singer was a doctor.
Oh no, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I have one of their CDs.
Would send me. They were so fun. But yes, we did a lot of festivals together.
Yes, I have one of their CDs.
There you go.
See? More things in common, of course.
Well, yeah. Weird. So we got to tip our hat to the Irish. We have a large Irish community here in Kansas City, and sadly, for 2 years in a row, they haven't been able to hold their big festivals. But I tend to always go to the Irish Fest, because there's always a guy there who has a little, what are those? Those little trucks, you know what I'm talking about? The little food trucks.
Yep.
And he's always got meat pies.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, he parks back over by Jameson.
Example of meat pie, So
he parked over by Jameson the last time. He parked by the Jameson tent the last time.
Yeah.
Did you go back there?
Yeah.
I volunteered. So I've always been part of Irish festivals. So I volunteered at this one because I'm part of the Irish fest, whatever thing, city fest, whatever, downtown. Yeah. And so I'm part of that, and I volunteer sometimes. And last year I walked around, I forget what I was giving away. I was giving away something. Right. Anyway.
Well, that's one of the things for me that really has been kind of like, we've all had a lot of kick in the guts because of this whole pandemic thing.
Yeah.
But I know they also have an ethnic festival at Swope Park every year, which is, where Irish Fest just focuses on one culture. The ethnic fest is I can't remember what the name of it is, but they have they have a stage there, and then they have dancing and music from, everybody gets about 30 minutes, and it goes for like 3 days. And it's so fun because they have food from, 100 different countries. And
I love that.
You have all the continents represented, and it's just the beautiful celebration of the diversity of humanity. And what's great about it is that the world is filled with so much conflict because of our diversity, and yet we have these festivals which brings everyone together, and we celebrate our diversity. And for me, that's a real, that's a really fun moment, because I love people, celebrating each other versus tearing each other down.
Isn't Irish Fest the end of August? Or
I don't remember.
It's like end of August, I think. I think. Do they have a Mutt Fest? Does being a mutt make a citizen of the world?
Yeah, because you see what Mike's getting at, which is kind of fascinating, but it's very true for us Americans, which is that we are, many of us are multicultural. So in my case, I have the funniest sort of European background, right? Because my dad, my actual DNA is Italian, right? It's Roman, right? So I come from, half of me comes from the oppressive Roman Empire, right? And then the other part of me is Irish, right? Which is the oppressed.
Unoppressed, right.
So when you look at the stereotype history, I'm conflicted. I'm both the oppressed and the oppressor.
Yeah. End of August. I knew it was end of August. Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah. Well, I have French, German, Irish, and Scottish.
Well, you're definitely a mutt then, like mutt.
I'm a total mutt. I mean, you couldn't get more, know. And Ancestry keeps tricking me. Like, I used to be more Irish than I am now. Like now that they add more database stuff, they're like, oh, now you're only this amount of Irish, and I'm like, man, what happened to my Irish?
Well, one of the most fascinating videos that I've seen, which is just so funny, is the English like to sort of see themselves as this pure, English, right?
Yeah,
they can get kind of uppity about that, Well, anyways, this guy did all these DNA tests on all these English people, right? And they're sitting at the table, and he starts, basically reading what their genetic history is, right? And they're from all over the place.
Well, yeah.
Like, they're in shock, right? Because they think, because they have white skin, pasty white skin, that they're like these pure,
most are Nordic,
Saxon, right? And they find out that they've got African and Spanish and Italian and French, and it's like there's really, I don't know anymore how especially in Europe and the US, how many of us are actually I think we're all mutts.
Are we?
Use Mike's word.
What? They were all what?
We're all mutts.
We are all mutts.
Yeah.
So everyone on here, and I know some of you answered my question. I asked a question yesterday. Love equals what? Blank. So I want you to answer it in the comments. If you did not answer it for me, Heather, I know you answered it for me. But love equals what? I went to a conference this weekend. Do you know Dan Mohler?
Well, only because of Heather.
Okay. You and him are on the same wavevelength. Like when I was listening to him, I heard some of the things that I've heard you say, and I'm like, oh, that's pretty cool. He's got he was explaining some things that are evident to you and somewhat to me. And anyway, he's an interesting guy that I think you would like anyway, is what I'm saying. You're 4% Nambian. I'm going to the Africa Fest as a newly found. Michael.
No, but think about it today.
It's true.
Given today's culture, right?
Yeah.
You can claim to be whatever you want to be. So
LOL. Heather has a big mouth. Oh, okay. No,
here's good advertising. So love. Let's get back to love.
So love equals, and I loved everybody's answers. They were so good. And I'm going to read some of them because love equals something different to everyone, which is what it came out to be, which I knew that they would, but I liked that mostly they said God. Love equals forgiveness. Love is the answer. Okay. I like that one. Love's God's will. Jesus. Love yourself. And then she said family. She thought it meant. And then John 3:16. God. Some said bands. Faith, unconditional, happiness within, peace, understanding, respect, God, sacrifice, everyone. Some people put overrated. But I like this one. This one lady on my Facebook said, prior to reading any other responsive, love equals is an amazing question. Love is purity and acceptance in the purest form, caring without question, giving abundance from the purest of heart. Love is the way Jesus would give to us. That is amazing. I liked what she said there too. God, somebody put tacos. Somebody put pain. Love equals pain. So the equals, and then my friend on here right now put how well we communicate and treat each other. People, your relationships are paramount. So I mean, everybody's definition of love equals is whatever where they're at right now and what they're going through, right? So like the one person that put pain, obviously maybe they're going through a heartbreak. So that's what love is equaling to them right now. So it's an interesting question. What is your answer?
Well, before I get to that, I go, one of the dilemmas that all of us face is that growing up, we're exposed to movies and books, but mostly these days movies, right?
Yeah.
And so, our little minds are sort of like empty chalkboards, and we watch these movies and we read these books, and it writes on us. But what's interesting is from a culture perspective, we see love as what makes us happy, right? Love is about romance. Love is about, I fall in love. And then when you ask people, well, what do you love? What inevitably comes out, well, I like the way they make me feel.
Yes.
Right. And what's interesting, and I do this experiment all the time because, people use the word love, right? Mm-hmm. And then I'll ask them what they love, and inevitably they'll talk about themselves. How this other person makes them feel.
Yes.
Right. Which is very revealing, because depending on what there's a biblical definition of love, right? And then there's a cultural definition of love. And our culture tends to look at love as romance. Love equals romance, right?
Yes.
But when you talk to couples, like I bet you if you talk to our elderly couple, that we had on a few weeks ago, and what they would tell you about love would be very, very different than the romanticized Meg Ryan, Sleepless in Seattle,
Well, they had such an adventure in their lives. I mean, love is right.
But romance, the whole, which is actually infatuation, right? And the feeling of it all, which is what all the movies. And
what's funny is he tends to talk like that. He tends to say that about his wife. Like he was struck by her. You know? Yeah.
Yeah, but that's
she's
not
the
what
one going,
kept them together.
No, she's the one going, well.
Yeah, exactly. Well, he's, they're different personality types. So what you end up, realizing, from the biblical perspective, what's interesting about the biblical worldview of love is it's selfless. Like there's no
less. Yes.
sense of what do I get out of it. It's completely others conscious. That's why, people who say God, or they'll say James 3:16. Well, James 3:16 basically talks about a selfless act. For God so loved the world, he sacrificed, right?
Yes.
And so what you end up realizing is that a lot of the relationships that work the best, which are real love, are the ones where the two partners are sacrificing for each other. Yes. In other words, their focus is on how do I make the other person better? Not for me.
Yes.
For them. Yes. Right? And so when you get down to almost all relational conflicts, whether it's marriage or friendship, where it breaks down is people are going, well, I'm unfulfilled. I'm not getting what I want. Right.
Yes.
And it's the very opposite of love. Now, I mean, there's a lot of, variables about this, because, sometimes relationships are abusive, and I'm not discounting all that, but I'm just talking about, in all my years of doing counseling with people, inevitably selfishness is the thing that actually destroys all the relationships.
It is the
antithesis of love, right?
And focus. When you focus on the other person more than you focus on, when you're focusing on the other person instead of focusing on that unconditional and being balanced, that is when it gets out of whack, like you're saying, the needs. Like, so somebody gets cheated on, it's usually because the person felt like they weren't getting their needs met by that other person. But really, that means their communication broke down. So that means that really before that happened, there was an issue. The communication had already been, eroding. So, there's, you go back and back and back, and I'm not saying that's the reason why or whatever, but really communication is key. But loving unconditionally, exactly. I like what everybody said. They did it in one word, unconditional, not judging your partner too, not judging, if we're talking about in a love relationship. Love to me is loving everyone. And when I feel guilty when I feel guilty even when I'm yelling at people in the car. I feel guilty when I go, oh yeah, and I have to bring myself back and go, okay, Sandy, is this a big deal? And it comes down to me, again, not showing love is something that is my problem.
One of the things that we have to recognize is that if we are not soulishly and spiritually whole, it's difficult for us to actually love. I'll use since we're almost at Easter, I'm going to use an Easter analogy. But for so many people that actually have an empty soul, or don't have any sense of self, they're like little kids at Easter, and they're going around hunting for little love eggs. Right, and so all their relationships is they're out looking for something. They're looking for affirmation. They're looking for value, right? And so they're constantly taking. So their relationships, they may sit there and engage, but what's going on, because all of life is actually transactional. It's all give and take, right? Yes. But, they may give one egg, but they're always taking two.
Yes.
Right. And the reason being is because there's this emptiness in their soul. Right. And so they're they're like little kids with Easter eggs, and they're trying to fill this basket, right? Because then they'll feel whole, right?
Yeah.
What real love is that your soul's already whole. In other words, you've got this relationship with God where he gives you your sense of value. In other words, you're valued and special because you're related to him. He's your father. You're his child, right? And so you're not going around to all your human relationships trying to fill something that only God can give you, right?
Yes.
Then you can love, right? Because now you have abundance.
That's right.
Right? Out of the fullness of your heart. So people who are always drowning, whose Easter baskets are always empty, right?
Yeah.
They're always taking. There's no love. Even when they're saying the word or they're trying to pretend that they're not, because underneath they're taking. They're like, I call them emotional pickpockets.
So now we can call them emotional Easter egg stealers.
Well, I'm just, you know what I'm talking about. It's like they're hunting for little eggs. Oh, well, here's a bright, shiny one. If I put this in my basket, I'll be happy.
Yes. If as you were talking, I was imagining Easter baskets kind of lined up, and they all had different labels on them.
Mm.
So if you, I'm a compartmentalizer, so I actually compartmentalize things, which is unlike most women, I think. But I do. I go, okay, this is this. That's not normal. Just saying.
Okay.
but I was imagining different Easter baskets. So if you can imagine, take inventory of your Easter baskets. What labels are you putting on them, and how are you filling them up? If God's love can't fill each one of those up, what are you filling them up with? What eggs are you putting in those? What toxic eggs are you putting in those? I mean, if we can compartmentalize that, because
if you're not to have Easter eggs to give something away, right?
Yeah.
Right. In other words, if you're going to share your eggs, you got to have some. Well, where do you get them from? Do you steal everyone else's?
No, you run faster than all the other kids on the field. What are you talking about?
Yes, I see that with my grandkids, They go from 12 to 1. The young ones have a disadvantage. So, but what's sweet is my oldest granddaughter, whose name is Isabella, is very loving, right? And what's fascinating about her, she's a straight A student, brilliant. Like, she can basically whoop everyone intellectually with one arm tied behind her back, but she's so aware of it. But because of the way her parents have raised her, she is such a caring person that she will back off and actually help the younger one.
I did that.
Right. And that just melts my heart. You know what I mean? Because I'm like, wow, this girl could crush them all.
Yeah. I would get,
because she's full and loves them, right? She's got abundance in her heart. And she does exactly what the Bible talks about. Those who are strong help those that are weak. But she does it naturally. It's not like it's just in her nature, because she's just loves God. You know what I mean?
Right. Well, and I've seen kids, being over children's ministry, I've seen kids actually take eggs out of their baskets and put in other kids' baskets that were crying.
But like, as adults, do we do that?
Huh?
Do we see? So we're watching the innocence of little children.
Yeah.
But do we do that as adults, or do we steal each other's eggs? No, I mean, I'm kind of serious here, because I've watched.
I don't know. Let's ask the audience. What do they do?
Like, we're so broken and so needy. It's an emotional transaction, but we're taking other people's eggs. You know what I mean? That's right. Versus them giving. It's a big difference, taking somebody's eggs versus somebody giving them to you, right? So I had a situation last week, which was really blew my mind. I did an interview on Friday as to what it really means to be prophetic, but the young man on the show was recounting a meeting we had 6 years ago, that changed his life. And I was so taken back by him sharing the story. I was oblivious.
Right.
I wasn't thinking about impressing him. Yeah. I just saw somebody whose God's hand was on, and I just gave freely. I poured myself out to him, and then I haven't talked with him in 6 years.
Yeah. And that's right.
You see what I mean?
And so, that's why
that happened a few times last week. And then it was a kind of a wake-up call, and I realized, you know what? Sometimes we don't always see our ROI.
Yes.
Right?
That you're not supposed to.
Well, you don't, you know what I mean? And so you just don't know. So it's basically, you have to, you know, what I realize is, you know what, I just need to continue my posture of loving others.
Yes.
Without ROI. In other words,
without the right.
And if people don't know what that means, that's a business term, return on investment.
Yes.
Right. So I'm not sowing to reap. I'm just sowing.
I was having that conversation last night with someone, and I was saying to them, you know, about how you live your life, and the person was kind of coming back at me, and I'm being very transparent and authentic, and how I beat myself up about behaviors sometimes. You know, if I overdo something, and I even likened it into what we're talking about today. And the show actually is like, I don't want to act like somebody else out there in the world, but then act like this on this show. So I don't want to be duplicitous. I don't want to act like I'm this when I'm that, or, you know, I'm doing this behavior over here and then that. So I was talking about that, how clearly that has helped me to reel myself in more than before. Like worrying about, you know, not that I'm worried about what other people think, but worrying about how am I living my life as a testament if I'm not acting the same way, you know? So that was a very serious conversation.
Jesus says, don't store up treasures on earth.
Yeah.
But treasures, what do you think that means?
Yeah. I mean, yeah.
Right. Well, but I mean, this is what I'm talking about in terms of transactions. Right. Yes. Jesus is talking about it, you know, don't store up the thing. Right. And this happens all the time when people face death, and they look back at their life and they go, oh my gosh, I spent all this time accumulating status and stuff, and none of it goes with me.
Yeah.
Like, so what was the point of my life? Right. Yeah. In other words, the things I did to other people in the acquisition of my status and stuff, right? And so Jesus says, don't store it. So what are we storing up that's not on this earth, right? What you see? And so that's where I started looking at that going, well, maybe what he's talking about is the, you know, I'm trying to think of the love language, but it's acts of kindness. Isn't that one or something? You know, I can't remember what the four of them are.
Acts of service
and stuff. But it's being kind to other people.
Right.
And that doesn't always mean monetarily. That, you know, the most powerful thing we possess is words.
That's right.
Tongue.
That's right.
Right.
And there's words of affirmation. Yeah. There's affirmation. Yeah. And actually this Dan Moeller that was over on the weekend, you know, when I was talking to this other person about this, it was really about, because of, you shouldn't be doing it out of conviction and condemnation, but out of wanting transformation. And so that's kind of how he was gearing that. And it's like, when we do things for the Father, you know, it's for the relationship with him. It's not for how others perceive you or what you're doing for them. Right. It's really between that relationship.
Or religion, you know, institutional religion drives conformity of behavior out of fear, right?
Yes.
In other words, I've run into all kinds of people who are doing things, but they're doing it because they're afraid if they don't, something bad's going to happen to them.
Yeah.
That's not love. That's fear.
No. And I was kind of explaining the whole first part of Genesis too, about, God just created us for love. So God created us to have someone to love and to love back. Like he created us for that fellowship of love. He didn't create us because he wanted us to be little puppets to run around and do, these things. He wanted actual relationship, fellowship with us, for someone to love and given us our free will so we will love him freely and not be made to love him. So that love question, that's kind of where it came out of. And, this guy speaking this weekend really inspired me again. Sometimes you need a kick in the butt to be re-inspired, and even though I might've heard the same story, the Easter story every year and know the story, sometimes you can be inspired again and re-energized and fired up about, living that life of love, of showing others love. Why are you doing it? I'm not doing it because I want to preach Jesus to you. I'm doing it because Jesus is in me and that's what he does. It has nothing to do.
All kinds of stories in human history of humans who have sacrificed their lives on behalf of others. I mean, that's, where we get the phrase, the ultimate sacrifice, the ultimate sacrifice, you see that, all the time. I mean, probably the most instinctive place where I've seen that is mothers. I mean, mothers will completely lose themselves almost to the point of what other people would look back and go, that's just insane. But there's an instinctual love and nurture that women have for their children, where they will kill themselves so that their children can live.
Yes.
I just saw that there was a story just a few months ago about a Hispanic actress or somebody who was out boating with her little boy.
Yeah.
And the boat capsized or something, and she used all of her strength to get him back in the boat, and then she drowned because she had no more strength left.
Yeah, I saw that.
I mean, that's maternal love,
Yeah, exactly. And that's what, that's the fatherly love that we
well, the fatherly love is, as men historically have laid their lives down to protect their wives and children.
Yes.
So it's, there's these different versions, but what they all have in common is the word sacrifice.
Yeah.
Right. That's the whole gist of John 3:16.
Yes.
So there is no love without sacrifice. And that's really sort of an interesting thing, but that's the way God's designed life, is these paradoxes.
Yeah.
Right. But that's not, you know what I mean? That's not the sort of Hollywood version of love.
No. In our cushy American view, sacrifice to us is, not being able to go to Starbucks, right? Like not being able to, go outside. Like we've just sacrificed in a year, over this virus. We have sacrificed some things. Even at first toilet paper, but besides that,
but those are
things.
The things that Americans, in my estimation, one of the struggles is because we have disposable income, we would rather give money to a problem than actually get engaged personally, which concerns me, right? Because it keeps this buffer, we're insulated from the actual pain. So we'll write a check to help you go solve the problem versus investing our lives. That's why, I love these organizations, where men volunteer to be a dad or a big brother. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Right. Because you're basically taking a young man and you're putting him under your wings. It's not yours. You're not biologically related to this person, but you're pouring your life into them, right?
Yes,
giving them a sense of self and value and love that you don't even realize. But 20 years later, this particular person could impact the lives of millions of people.
Yeah. Yeah. So Peanut Gallery, you guys are quiet right now. You're not talking. What's your take on love? I'd like to know about what we've been discussing. So the Peanut Gallery. I mean to call them peanuts, but
peanuts.
The Peanut Gallery.
Okay.
So yeah. I mean,
maybe we should upgrade them to cashews.
Okay. Pistachios are even more expensive.
Exactly. The high
pistachios are like more expensive.
The macadamias.
Macadamias. You guys are macadamias. However you say it.
Macedonians and macadamians. So, add a little humor to our otherwise kind of deep discussion.
Did we go deep in our discussion today?
I wasn't raised in an evangelical church. So I had really no exposure to the Bible. And then I had a kind of an experience in 1975 and somebody gave me a Bible and I'd never seen one before. Right. So I open it up to the table of contents and you see Ephesians and Philippians and Colossians. I was looking for the Atlanteans. Right? No, it's true because I knew about Atlantis, right? I was fascinated. So I was all frustrated because I couldn't find the book to the Atlanteans, right?
King Neptune.
So I had to ask the pastor, "Where's the book to the Atlanteans?" He just like stared at me like, "What's your problem, kid?"
Okay, so Michael's not talking. He doesn't want to be Linus. Why? What's wrong with Linus? You got your blankie? Anyway, either way, we are all nuts. That's hilarious. Heather. Yes, you Heather. Are. Y'all nuts. I'm nuts too, and it's okay.
Yeah.
But I mean, really, the question about love, that, like I said, the guy really fired me up, and my knee got healed. So how about that?
There you go. Well, I know we're kind of talking about love in the context, of relationships and that kind of thing. But if you extrapolate this out into a larger context, the reality of it is I wonder if we ever stop and realize that the love of God, this love that we're talking about, this kingdom of God worldview of love, do we realize how many problems it would solve in our culture? Like all the issues that we're dealing with today, all of what I call the isms, right? Racism, feminism, all these isms, right? Yeah. The solution to all of this is God's version of love.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, it sounds oversimplified, but it's true.
Yeah.
And so I one of the frustrations that I have to deal with on a daily basis is the people that are trying to solve all these problems have rejected the actual solution.
Right.
Right.
They're trying to use their mind. The reason
is, of course,
they're trying to use
all the people that are driving this are all actually being driven by what? Self-centeredness.
Yes.
I'm offended. I'm not getting what I want. You owe me, right? So what's driving so much of these isms is selfishness.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And they don't want to hear about a sacrificial type love.
Yeah.
So it's an offense, but it's the solution. So this is one of the real interesting paradoxes of the moment for me is the very people that are trying to solve the problem are rejecting the solution.
Yeah. If they could only bypass and if they could only bypass their brains and their thinking they can figure it out into a spiritual thing where, they're asking God to help figure it out.
Right.
If only they could just ask the one question to the one person that has the solution. If they could only humble themselves to ask the question to him and stop trying to solve it with their own brain power as they think. I mean, that's really what the problem is that they think, oh, well, this person is this smart, blah, blah, blah. What does God say?
Well,
and I hate to say that I use that so freely. What does God say? Like, what is God saying in this time?
That takes humility.
It's humility.
And so for so many people, humility is seems to be weakness. Like, and if I'm humble, people are going to take advantage of me, and you know what I mean. And there's a lot, but
you worry about that. You teeter totter on that. You go, okay, am I giving too much? Am I going to be taken advantage of? Maybe you are. Maybe you will be taken advantage of, but maybe you won't. That's where faith comes in, because no matter what, if you were taken advantage of, guess what? God will still take care of you, and he will overcome that.
So here's one of the things that I find interesting. And we can just kind of flesh this out, but we're talking about empty Easter baskets, right? Empty souls. What's interesting is that people who take advantage of other people, you know what they're looking for? People with empty baskets, because those are the easiest people to take advantage of.
Yes.
Right? When you're full, meaning that you know you're a child of God and you have a sense of value and self-worth based on what God says about you, right? You're full, you're whole. You don't need.
Right. But that doesn't mean that the people aren't still going to manipulate you and take advantage of you.
No, but they'll try.
They'll try, but what I'm saying
they won't stop trying. But you're strong, right? You're most of the time we get taken advantage of because of a vulnerability, because we're looking for love.
Oh yeah,
and we let our guard down, right?
Yeah.
You see where I'm going with this?
Yes, all day long.
People will always be selfish and try to take advantage of you, but when you're whole, that's harder to do.
Yes. And some of us, and I'm speaking on my own behalf, kid ourselves when we think we're whole. And so you have to really always check. And the only time I've fallen into that and for that is when I lost my focus on focusing on God. I lost my focus. I focused on me instead of him. And whenever I do that, that is when I falter. Right. So, I mean, that I'm speaking out of my own experience, is that is when I get taken advantage of, is when I lose sight of that, or I get mad at God and don't talk to him. Like I get mad and don't talk to him, or I feel I feel conviction. So then I don't talk to him because I'm like, oh my gosh, I've done this thing and he's not going to forgive me and he doesn't love me anymore. And those are the only places when I get trapped into thinking.
But even you go back to Cartman's relational triangle, one of the roles that you play is rescuer, and so this plays into this, because rescuers look like they're so loving, right? Because they're out trying to help other people. But one of the secrets, on the other side of this, is that a lot of people that are rescuing are actually trying to fill a need. Like they need to feel like they're good.
Yes. And the psychology is called codependent.
Just because people do nice things doesn't mean that they're coming from a place of fullness. There's still a transaction going on where they may be giving an egg, but they're taking two.
Right. Because and whether that doesn't look like that or not, they're getting the I'm helping someone.
Right.
Isn't that wonderful? I'm helping someone.
We love to be the heroes of our own story.
Oh, yes. It's like,
I'm so wonderful.
That's where you get tripped up.
Yeah. So you have to even be careful with, again, and this is why Jesus, we were talking about this on Friday about what it means to be prophetic. And so many people think about the end times or people that can see the future. And I was trying to explain, but that's only half the equation. There's another side, which is discernment, which is understanding the heart of a matter. And Jesus, who was the greatest prophet, if you go back and study all of his teachings, he was constantly focusing on motive. Why are you doing that? Right. So one of the things that he was particularly troubled by was religious people who look like they were doing good things. And his basically word picture, we talk about Easter baskets. Well, for Jesus, it's like you're a stinky, rotten corpse that's in a nice painted tomb. Oh, I mean, you're like, huh? Right? I mean, these are good people. These are the people in society who are religious leaders who everybody thinks are holy. And Jesus was looking at him and going, no, you stink. You're a complete fake, because in your heart, it's self-centered, right? You're doing all this for your own egos.
Yeah. That's why you overturned the tables in front
of this is where motive, right? This is synagogue. If we're going to talk about love, we're talking about a motive, right? We're talking about an intention of the heart. And we have to be really, really careful, because it gets foggy sometimes, and we can think that we're being loving when in reality what's going on is we're stealing Easter eggs.
Being selfish. Yeah. And we're saying, look at me.
Yeah. Or we're taking it. It's, in other words, even if we're not bragging about it emotionally, we're taking from this person.
Yes.
That's what narcissism is.
Yeah. Right. That lovely word.
Yeah. And it's like, it's just, in the end, the people that are in the relationship with you over the course of time go, wait a minute, how did I lose all my eggs?
Right. How is it that I'm now you?
Right. Well, you can't see, because the delusion is they keep giving you an egg, right?
When they want to.
Right. No, but I mean, this is how it works, right? They give you an egg, but they take two, right? And so over the course of time, the relationship just ends up, and suddenly you're out of petrol.
Yes, you're out of petrol.
You're like, how did that happen?
Right.
Right. And you get confused, because it's like, well, they gave me an egg.
Right.
But you don't realize that they're taking two until you're all dried up and used up, and you got nothing left, you see.
Right. But if you
that's where the only place you can go to get your Easter basket refilled is actually God, right?
Is God. He's the only one that can fill
along and give you an egg. Well, that's great. That's
an addition.
Yeah.
Yes. That's an addition.
And then your basket is what? Overflowing with eggs. So you're looking for people to give eggs to. I got way too many eggs.
Man, we went into the Easter egg basket thing really well today.
Oh, good. Since it's Easter time, and I just thought we could use an analogy that is relevant kind of to the season.
It's true. It's true. And so where are you getting your Easter eggs is the question. And if you're not getting them from a stable source, where are you at with that?
Are you stealing other people's?
Huh?
Are you stealing other people's?
Are you stealing other people's eggs? Don't steal.
Right.
Don't steal
them. We do,
God has given me all my eggs back. Awesome, Heather. Yay. And earlier, Michael said he was Pigpen, not Linus. Which I wondered, because Linus does talk. Pigpen just has a swirl of dust around him.
I said, I had posted a thing about that the other day, because you got Snoopy standing in the dust cloud of Pigpen, Pigpen's that friend that just constantly has messes. Right.
Isn't that great? If you look back on all the cartoons that we watched and read, speaking of the love question, when I was young, I used to collect the cartoons. I used to cut them out of the newspaper, and I always did the love is. I always cut out the love is couple.
Well, Charles Schulz, then Bill Keane, I think, was the one that did the Family Circle. Remember that?
Yes.
And Bill Keane could, in one cartoon, just bring home some of the most amazing truths, right?
Right.
I mean, they were in some ways mirrors. Like he would use cartoons to reflect back to us certain things.
Yes.
And what's interesting about both those guys and others is that all their cartoons were value based, right?
Yes.
It was about reinforcing values.
Yes.
You know, helping remind us what is really important to us.
Yeah. I miss
that kind of our cartoons, because it's like, you know, you watch The Simpsons and all these modern cartoons, and I just like,
yeah.
You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
It's all self-centered, you know?
Oh yeah. But I liked Marmaduke and let's see, Dennis the Menace.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. Dennis the Menace was Pigpen on steroids.
Yes, it was.
but the thing about Dennis is that he was always so innocent, right? It was like it wasn't like he was evil. He just was overzealous about so many things, you know. And so Dennis the Menace was always about taking things to the extreme, right? And you're just you know.
Yeah.
So
the one neighbor, the only
then
one neighbor got it all.
What was the Hun guy? You know, the Viking guy. I don't remember what that one was.
Oh yeah.
And that was all about marriage, you know, about relationships with his wife. You know, he was the typical misogynistic, you know, sort of self-centered male, you know, and the wife was always giving it to him. You know,
what was the other one?
Horrible. That's what it was.
What was the guy that always was the sandwich? Oh my goodness, how did I forget that?
That was Beetle Bailey.
Beetle Bailey,
right? But for those of us from Kansas City, the guy that did Beetle Bailey got his start down at 31st and Troost, as did Walt Disney and many people. Yeah, that's where those guys all started.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, that was, if you go down there at 31st and Troost, the hull of the building is still there, and they've got some of the silhouettes of the guys. But yeah, that was the studio that launched so much of
that's amazing.
The whole cartoon world.
Dogwood, yep. Dagwood.
Yeah.
Dagwood.
Yeah. Dagwood, something like that. Little Abner. You know, it was yeah. Anyways, we're dating ourselves now, you know.
We're almost up on time. So we've talked about love and we've talked about Easter baskets. So put those two together.
Easter baskets of the soul.
Easter baskets of the soul. Ooh, I hear a new book coming out. I don't know.
All right.
My Easter baskets have little labels on them. So yeah, Dagwood. Yes. That was his name though, right? Dagwood. But wasn't it in Dennis the Menace? When that is dad or something? I don't know.
I don't remember.
I don't remember.
I love the Jetsons.
Dun 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 dun.
Yeah. Elroy.
It was my favorite too. Yeah. That's why this year we're supposed to have flying cars, because
I always wanted to live in one of those houses, and then of course, the other one that was the classic was the Flintstones. That was
Flintstones. Yeah.
Fred and Barney.
Okay. So, why is it saying we've been on for an hour 45? I don't think we have. I think we've been
1 hour and 1 minute.
Thank you, Heather. Bye. Have a great day. Wasn't it Blondie? It was Blondie. Yes, it was Blondie. Thank you. I was like, what is that? I was going to go look it up. So everybody, you guys have a wonderful week and Monday. And, think about your Easter baskets.
That's right.
So, all right.
Give away Thank you, Bob. Colorful eggs to others.
That's right. Give out your eggs. Don't take them. Don't steal them. Yeah. All right. Well, you guys have a wonderful week, and we love y'all, and peace out.
See you guys.